to do the public speaking. That's what we're bringing up.
Okay.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Today is Monday, August 19th. We are at the Bay Oaks Recreational Center. No more guys today. It's going to be closed to the primary lesson tomorrow. Councilmember President, Manager, Town Planning, Town Clerk, the first rise to the invitation, followed by Council President and Action President.
As we gather here to make decisions that affect our citizens and island, we ask you to lift your heads, open your eyes, and open your hearts. Our most serious duty is to look to the community we share, the examples we make, and the legacies we leave. That should be our greatest, most courageous, and noble intention. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you can remember to silence your phones, and you don't have to pretty loud in here. Next, we have the approval of the final agenda. We do have some changes. The first one, public hearing, item A, will need to be rescheduled. Item P will need to be rescheduled. Item B will need to be rescheduled. Administrative agenda item B is going to have the change in the title. Is that correct? We'll be reading a new title.
Yes, that is correct. Mayor, just so I have my notes correctly, on D, we are going to open the hearing and continue that one. Is that correct?
Yeah, we will open it, read the title into record. We will also allow public comment, because some people I know are here to speak specifically about that. So we will open it to public comment, but then we'll close it and reschedule it.
And continue it to a date certain.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And that date is September the 9th? Thank you.
Then the last one is under administrative agenda item F, will be removed. And you can give any context on that.
No, it's been rendered moot based on some changes that were made in the transaction. I can address that when we talk about the resolution.
Okay.
But me? It would
Okay.
All right, we're going to restart this again. We'll call things back to order at 9:35. Nancy is going to restate what we stated twice, just to make sure everybody is heard and that everybody is sitting in the room.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, because there's multiple changes to today's agenda. And then at the conclusion, the council will have to move to approve it as proposed to be amended. So the first item under public hearings is ordinance 24-17. This is regarding advisory committees. This one is being rescheduled to September the 9th, so it will not be heard today. The next item is ordinance 24-19. This is regarding immobilization payment options. This one is also going to be rescheduled to September the 9th and would not be heard today. D, which is ordinance 24-10. This is a second reading and a proposed adoption hearing. However, this one will be opened. The title will be read, and then at the discretion of council to continue the item to September the 9th. Under your administrative agenda, B, there is a revised resolution that the title will be read. And the last item is F, under the administrative agenda regarding the town hall purchase. This was a proposed amendment that would have allowed for a 1031 exchange, which is not going to happen. The seller has changed their mind on that. So that one's removed as
Six times the charm.
Yeah, you got that memorized by now, don't you?
yeah.
Check 1, 2, 3. Nancy, would you say something again?
Can you hear me?
Now it's good.
Okay, so
You wanna
I'll,
try your mic real quick?
I think we're going on Central Time today.
Check. Check, check.
Buenos dias.
hello.
Check, check.
Test.
Smock.
Waiting for my wife to respond.
So Facebook's back on, YouTube's back on? It's on, just delayed, okay. Go ahead, Nancy, unless we hear
One more
something
time?
different. We'll try it again.
Okay, so we are going to propose some changes to the agenda today, and council will have to take a vote to approve those changes. The first would be under public hearings, ordinance 24-17 concerning advisory committees. This one, we are recommending that it be rescheduled, meaning that it would not be heard today on second reading. The next item is ordinance 24-19. This is regarding immobilization parking options. We are asking that this one be rescheduled to the 9th, so it would not be heard today. The next item is ordinance 24-10 regarding comprehensive plan adoption hearing. This item, we are asking that it be continued, that the public hearing be opened, the title read, and then a motion to continue it to September the 9th. In the event anyone is here from the public that would like to go ahead and place their comments in the record, I believe the mayor that you indicated you would afford them that opportunity. The next item under the administrative agenda, item B, regarding the purchase of the new town hall. There is a revised resolution, and that title would be read. And lastly, under the agenda item regarding the town hall purchase, there was a request to approve an amendment that would have allowed the seller to do a 1031 exchange. The sellers indicated they are not proceeding with a 1031 exchange, so that item would be removed and not heard today.
Okay. Are there any other changes to the agenda? If
Move the
not,
agenda as amended.
okay, we got a motion by Counselor King.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Next is public comment. Is there anyone? Okay,
I have one signed up, Bill Veach.
come on up, Bill.
Hi there, Bill Veach for the record. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. A couple things. First thing I want to just do is congratulate Murph and Jennifer here on this activities book. I know that I think one of the great successes of Murph has been their booths and the way they engage with kids. It looks like a lot of fun. I may even go home and invest in some crayons. And I just want to also point out that this is, Murph has done a lot of things over the years. When I was in the chair, we always preached that you can, there's three different ways to try to have a positive impact: through legislation, through direct action, and through education. And this is a great example of education as a way of people. I think that I've heard talk that Murph is being radical. I think that most of the things that Murph works on come from federal law, things like the Endangered Species Act, migratory bird treaties, things that are federal and state laws. A lot of things that come through Murph are recommended by the FWC as a model ordinance. It's not radical, it's the law. And it's just a matter of the federal law is prioritizing the safety of these endangered species over the convenience of people, especially people who live on the beach. But they're mostly following law. These laws didn't come from Murph. They don't come from the town. They originate with the state and the federal. And to that end too, I've been getting a lot of complaints about the redoing some of the planted spaces that were planted with donated money, with donated labor that are being put with fabric and rock. And I understand the temptation to do fabric and rock. The problem is that when you put down the surface under the rocks, then that becomes less pervious. It means more water is going to run off. And although it could be argued, and I don't think it's necessarily true, that it works better, it's more resilient for things like the storms that we've been having the last 2 years, is that the hundreds of other rainstorms that happen that are not of that scale, the water's going to run off more, the water's going to run off to neighbors' properties, and it's not just a small portion that the town is doing, it's that you're setting an example. You're setting an example for the homeowners and the condo owners of what they should do. And if you put down native vegetation, it's more pervious, more of the water gets absorbed, less goes onto your neighbor's property, and it takes the whole community to try to follow these guidelines so that it's better for everybody. And I've also seen there's someone across the street from me who put down rock and plastic, and after Debbie, it was all over the street and all over the sidewalk. So that's in the parking strip. In the parking strip that we have, we had kind of native vegetation. A lot of it died back, but it's still there and it's coming back. And that's it. I was going to talk on the comp plan, but I'll do that when that comes up in the agenda.
Okay. Thanks, Bill.
That's all I have signed up.
Is there anyone else that is here to speak for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Local achievements and recognitions. Councilor Safford?
Yes, we lost a dear friend last week in Al Durrett, and I just want to recognize him and give a shout out to his family. Al was a complete leader. He was a successful businessman, but he gave so much back to the community. I mean, he was a true gentleman. And there's stuff he did that no one even knew about. And I was fortunate enough to replace him on LPA, and I remember asking him for some words of wisdom, and he said, yeah, if you get into a tough debate and a tough decision, just make sure that you can justify it when you get home to your wife, because she's going to be your biggest critic. So,
Good advice.
he was a great man.
Yeah.
Speaking of my wife, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jackie.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jax.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Council Woodson?
I'll just agree with the comments that Councilor Safford said about Al Durrett. I didn't know him that well, but I met him probably only a few times, and every time he knew exactly who I was, where I lived, came into his restaurant. I mean, he was an amazing, amazing person. So rest in peace. I also want to comment on this coloring book. I think this is the coolest thing. I got a copy of it last week and looked through it. I mean, it's very, very educational. And it's kind of fun. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on here. There's a reason they didn't give us colors or crayons while we're up here, because we would have been really, really beside ourselves here. The other thing, final thing I want to mention, and I don't think we have closed yet on the new town hall, given what I just heard. We were supposed to close on Friday, and then this exchange happened, and now it's going back. But anyway, I just want to give a shout out to Andy and his entire team for really moving forward on this. This whole building came up right after Hurricane Ian. And there were so many other things in the works that it was kind of tabled to the side. But when Andy came in, he picked it up again, got the state funding for this building, saved us as a community and taxpayers multi-millions of dollars in having to rebuild our town hall. So I just want to say thank you very, very much for a job well done.
Vice Mayor Adderhold?
Well, ditto on Al and ditto on the coloring book and on the town hall, all great recognitions this morning. Brenda and I had a chance, had the privilege of attending St. Raphael's Episcopal Church on Sunday. They have a beautiful service there at 9 o'clock. They're doing a great job of restoring that church. I noticed on Saturday during the Beach Talk walk around, Ed was stopping by the church, and I happened to notice one of our counselors working the grounds there doing a cleanup in preparation for a ceremony that I'm going to reference next. But good job, Counselor Safford, for being out there laying some sod and helping out the church on Saturday. Again, the service on Sunday is at 9 o'clock. It was a beautiful service, and it was the last service, and they were rejoicing on this, that will be without air conditioning. Air conditioning will be put in this week, and it'll be ready for what will be a ceremony on Friday, August 23rd, this coming Friday at 11:30. They're going to announce a Hurricane Ian memorial plaque in their memorial garden, and the public is welcome. That's 5601 Williams Drive. I think Beach Talk Radio will be there to broadcast it. Again, open to the public, but what a beautiful church, and just the hard work that they've put into making that church, getting it open again and getting it functional. They started at Diamond Head. They were in a tent. They're now back in their building. We've got a lot of work to do still, but it's just to see that beautiful dedication. We've seen the same thing at St. Peter Evangelical Lutheran Church. We've seen the same at Beach Baptist. We have 3 functioning churches on the island now, all beautiful services, all Christ-honoring traditions and histories behind each church. And so for folks that are wondering what happened to the churches on Fort Myers Beach, we've obviously lost a few. One will be coming back, Church of the Ascension will be coming back in a year or two, maybe, we hope. But certainly we have 3 open churches right now. And
Vice Mayor, hold on. We're being told your mic is not working.
okay, well, that was.
Can you start over? No.
Here, you want
Jim, you want to try this one?
to take that one? If it'll reach. If not, try it again.
So, boy, I don't want to go through that all again. I'm happy to, but again, let me just do this in case we lost sound. I just want to make sure the public is aware that St. Raphael's Episcopal Church is having having a service, a special ceremony on Friday, August 23rd, this coming Friday at 11:30. They're 5601 Williams Drive. I was just mentioning, Brenda and I had a chance to attend church there on Sunday. It's a beautiful service. And the public is welcome for this. I think it's going to be broadcast
Still
live
not
on
working.
Beach Talk. Still not working?
Still not working.
Okay.
Still not working, Jacob. Can you guys tell if it's working? We'll come back to you. We'll go to Counselor King and then come back when we know that it's working. Give it a shot, Counselor King.
Well, I can be heard whether there's a microphone or not, but I'm not sure I can be heard on Facebook or YouTube. But I'll just echo what Counselor Woodson said about the new town hall. Thanks to the town manager and his staff for all their hard work. Thanks to our legal department, Nancy and Becky, for their work on it as well. And also thanks to Senator Martin and Representative Botana for the help in securing the funds. So that'll take care of it for me.
Okay. And I just have, all the stuff has been covered that I wanted to say. Well said, Scott, with Mr. Durrett. He was a one-of-a-kind person. The only other thing I wanted to add was kudos to the staff. On Sunday, I was made aware of a big hole that was dug in the beach. I let Andy know, and within an hour, our staff was out there filling that back in. So, good job by those two guys that went out there with the shovel. And if it wasn't going to be them, it was going to be Andy and I. So thank you for taking care of that for us. And just a reminder to people to please don't dig holes. It makes more work for everybody, and it creates a very dangerous situation. So, do we have Vice Mayor Adderholtz? Is he back up? We'll give it a try again.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Jacob, give him a nod. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Delays we can
1, 2,
work
3,
with.
4. Okay, well, I think...
Take 3.
We'll try this one more time, but I just wanted to announce that on Friday, August 23rd at 11:30, St. Raphael's Episcopal Church is having a memorial service. They're going to be revealing a plaque at 11:30, and the public is welcome, and it's to honor those who lost their life in Hurricane Ian. And just encourage folks to come. The church is beautiful. They will have air conditioning for the first time since the storm in the church itself. So it'll be a blessing in that sense, and I just encourage folks to come if they feel called. That's all I've got. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Next, we have advisory committee items, reports, and appointments. Murph is here. Jennifer Rusk, you want to come up and start us off, and then Tidal Basin will give us their update right after that.
Yes, I'll be quick. My name is Jennifer Rusk, Murph member resident.
Can you pull it down a little bit? There you go.
I
And new
forget.
vice chair.
Yes.
And new vice chair. I'm here today to present Flippers and Feathers, Our Beach Friends Forever. It's an activity book that concentrates on our environment, and it's a special, unique little activity book for children, for our visitors. Just to let you know, we received them a few weeks ago, and they are now being handed out at Publix on island and off island, Lee County Tourism Development, Lee County Parks, nonprofit organizations, resorts on the island, Margaritaville, Pink Shell, Diamond Head, and the Roxy in Times Square, the Chamber of Commerce, Children's Camps of Stega Foundation, FMB Town Hall has these, Bay Oaks Recreation Center, and the Mound House. The beach school received 175 last week, and the interim principal accepted them. Daisy and Jasmine were the first children to receive these activity books. They were super excited about it. Let's see, these are free to all who want to distribute. I'm proud of this town, and I'm proud of this community. I especially would like to thank Andy Hyatt and the staff for helping me get this off the ground, along with Murph members. I really appreciate it. It warms my heart. It's getting great feedback, and I think we ordered 10,000, but we are now have given away almost 4,000. So they're going very quick within a couple weeks. If we want to continue to print these, then we'll have to ask community to help us out with that. In regards, I didn't know that Murph was considered radical. I have never heard that before. Maybe they mean we're rad. I'd also like to announce that the pop-up we've been invited by the farmers market to attend pop-ups every other Saturday in September, and I would really love to continue doing the pop-ups. I'm going to be applying for Murph again, and that will be my 4th term, and I would be happy to continue on Murph. And that's it. Oh, and also, Al was my very first friend I made on this island, and rest in peace. He was the first one to invite me and my husband to the putt-putt crawl, And he actually was trying to get me to help out with Santini Plaza and doing, having bands and activities. He saw that I loved people, and I loved that. He was a wonderful people person, and he's going to be sorely missed in this community. Thank you. Any questions?
I have one.
Yes.
So in your list of places that have these, I didn't hear Lover's Key.
No, but
Could-
I
could we get
was a
that?
first docent, one of the first docents there, and I have a box that's going there.
Okay.
Today, if that's
Because we
okay.
would love to have them in the Nature Nook.
Yes.
Up in the Welcome Discovery Center.
Wonderful, thank you. I appreciate that. And if any other suggestions of other places you might think would benefit from these activity books, please, give me a call, or you can email me at jruskfmb@gmail.com. Thank you. Any other questions?
No, good job with you and all the entire Murphy. It turned out better than expected, and I think people are excited to see him.
Thank
So,
you. And the best part was when you said take it to print. That was very, very exciting for me.
I'm just a little sad I don't have crayons up here.
I'm sorry. I'll get you some crayons. Murph will supply crayons.
All right, any other
That's a
questions for
surprise.
Jennifer?
No questions, just comment, reiterate what the mayor said. You have a lot to be proud of. Congratulations on this. I know you put a lot of hard work into it. The committee also, and your illustrator. So congratulations. Your smile says a lot, and you have every reason to be proud.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Anyone else?
No, fantastic.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you so much.
Tidal Basin, come on up. Before you go too, when you say who you are, can you just explain a little bit about what you do for the town?
Yes.
I know you've done it before, but just in case there's somebody new watching.
We are a consulting firm for the town of Fort Myers Beach, and we help. I'm over the PA.
Pull that up a little bit. Thanks.
I'm over the
Maybe. There
I'm
you
over
go.
the public assistance part of the grants. We also have Dietrich Bassett here over the hazard mitigation part of the grants. So we just manage all the grants, work with you, and work with FEMA to try to get all the projects moving forwards, to get the obligated funding for reimbursement for the town. So
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. I'm Adrian LeBlanc with Tidal Basin. Council members, mayor, vice mayor, town manager, thank y'all for having me. I know I'm just giving y'all an overall update of the public assistance side. Like I said, Dietrich will come up right after me to give y'all an update on the hazard mitigation part of the process. So currently, we have 8 projects obligated at right under $20 million worth of obligations. And we are working on pushing an additional 22 projects for another about 28 million going for the town. So as we move the projects forwards, we take them step to step.
Could
from-
you just, for folks who are watching, that's
Yes.
a lot of money.
Yes.
And could you just, once again, as to the mayor's point, just go through that again? This is damage that's occurred as a result of Hurricane Ian,
Mhm.
where you've assisted the town, your organization has assisted the town in asking for reimbursement,
Yes.
and we're waiting, based upon your submittal from FEMA for those reimbursement funds?
Well, it gets submitted to FEMA, and then once FEMA obligates it, then it goes to the state, and they do their review, and then they're the ones that let us know once their review's done that we can do the request for funding, which they call an RFR.
And you
And
used
then-
the term obligate is sort of an inside baseball term, but in
Yeah.
essence, approval, is that correct?
Yes, it's an approval by FEMA, and that is a major milestone, but after that, it still has multiple milestones to hit with the state, so.
But it's a good, once FEMA obligates or approves, it's a pretty good chance that the state's going to go along as well. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say. They do have a little bit more fine-tooth comb than FEMA as far as just reviewing documentation and backup documentation, but they've been working with us hand in hand on everything so far.
And at this point, both you and your colleagues, what's the aggregate number of dollars that you are applying for, in essence, to be returned to Fort Myers Beach through
It's
FEMA, through
right
the
at,
state?
my size right at 50 million.
So the total would be $50 million?
That's what we're going after, yes. We have right under 20 million obligated right now.
And when you say you're going after it, given your life experience with the Tidal Basin, if you were to guesstimate, would we generally get half of what you go for, 75%?
It all depends on the backup documentation, making sure everything was, procured correctly, the work was done correctly, everything like that. So I can't make that judgment.
But do you feel
on-
good about the information you're submitting?
Feel good, yes, sir.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
no worries.
And just to expound on that a little bit more, in order for the town to be able to start on a project, and I know we talked a lot about the old town hall that was sitting there. We couldn't do anything until the obligation process was done through FEMA to be able to start on it. Can you just explain to the public a little bit about why that's so important? That, often we get emails, why aren't we doing something with this project,
Yeah.
or why aren't we doing something with that project? And it's a little more in-depth than just saying, Andy,
Yeah.
procure some people to get this done.
No,
So if you would, just kind of give a little bit of explanation of what the obligation process looks like
Yeah,
and why
and
it's so
there-
important.
And there's two sides of it too, as far as obligation's a big milestone, but you have work completed and then work to be completed.
Mm-hmm.
So the work to be completed, like say, we have one online right now for all the beach accesses. It's in the final review stage of FEMA, so it should be obligated, we're hoping very soon. It's in their EHP review, which is the environmental review. That's work to be completed. So like that work hasn't been done, but it was through our estimates, working with Andy and all the staff, and then with FEMA, we got the funding allocated to a large estimate. Now, if it changes a little bit, we'll change it at closeout. So like to say they obligated at $1.5 million, and it's actually $1.75 million, we'll change it as long as everything was followed accordingly.
Sure.
We'll change that at closeout. So, but so what other questions do you have? I'm sorry, Dan.
I'm going to, since you're talking specifics here, you
Yes, sir.
mentioned beach access. A lot of people ask about the pool. Do you have could you take a stab at a guesstimate timeline on the pool?
The pool is, all of the parks and recreation facilities, we had a meeting months ago between Andy and Frankie and ourselves, and we're going to, it's called a 428 project. So all the park and recreation, it'll be a fixed cost estimate. So we use all work completed and work to be completed estimates, and it'll be a fixed cost that they offer the town, and then we can either agree with it, not agree with it, and move forwards on that as far as negotiations.
Do you have a guesstimated timeline as to how that would proceed?
We're collecting the data on it right now. We're trying to get it to FEMA in the next 60 to 90 days, and then it's be in FEMA's hands from there. So hopefully, I'm hoping by the end of the year. So that's, once it's in FEMA's hands, it's off of our clock. We can just push them as hard as we can.
But based upon your experience, you'd expect FEMA to have a decision by the end of the year? And
That's
then-
what
and then-
we're pushing
And then
for.
it would need to go to the state of Florida?
The fixed cost offer would come through FEMA and the state to us as the town, and then we review it with the mayor, town manager, and if we agree with it, move forwards. If not, we counteroffer back to FEMA on
Very
that.
good. Thank you.
Can
Yes,
you,
sir.
I think you added, when you started talking about 428, you added a whole nother mix that most people don't. Unfortunately, I understand what you're talking about, but
Okay.
a lot of people don't. Can you just tell us a little bit about the difference between a PA project and a 428, and why the town
Yeah.
would want to go one way versus another?
So 428 falls under PA, but 428 is, instead of like a standard PA is either work completed or work to be completed, and it goes off of actuals. 428 is a fixed cost offer program. So it's, we submit them, because some of the work is already completed, so we submit that as far as the damage line items and all the summary sheets. And then everything that hasn't been done yet through either either through engineer estimates that we have gotten with the town, and/or we send it to the cost estimating FEMA side, which is called the CRC, and then they compile it all together and then give us a fixed cost offer. And you can take that and you can use it to fix this, or you can, through FEMA's approval, can reallocate some of the funds.
So to make it as simple as possible, essentially 428 it's a fixed set amount that you agree upon.
Yes.
Once, if it costs more, then
Yeah.
you're on your own to fix it.
Yes, sir.
Whereas a regular PA, to your point earlier, if it's $1.5 million, and by the time it's done, it goes to 1.7 or 1.8 million, you can go back to get more funding.
Only if it's, so that's on a large project, anything over
Right.
$1 million. So a lot of the rec projects are very small. So a small project is hard, you can do it at closeout, but then they have to review all small projects. So it was just, since there were so many small projects on the Parks and Rec situation, it's better to do it as a 428, as all big one lump, just to be able to do it easier and better, so.
Okay. Thanks. Didn't mean to derail you there, but.
I'm here to
I have a
answer your
question.
questions, yes.
Besides the beach access, can you give the public a little bit of feedback as to two of the larger projects that you guys are involved in right now?
Obligated or not obligated, or just
Yeah.
any of them?
Just
Okay,
any of 'em.
so the obligated projects we currently have, give me a second, I got the list here.
So you're gonna read a list of projects that have already been approved by FEMA?
Obligated, yes. So,
And does that mean we have a check in hand, or they're still waiting for the state, or?
some have been drawn down on, others are being reviewed currently by the state.
All right,
So,
thank you.
the first one was the EPM, or Emergency Protective Measures, which is right after the storm. Those are, we had two of those. We had 100% and a 90%. Those are just, immediate needs right after the storm. That was the one that they fronted some money on, FEMA did, which is, they did on the 100% Cat B up to 12/7 of '22. The next one was the emergency berm, which that's our first project in closeout. Currently, we've finished everything on the emergency berm, done all the requests for fundings on it, and it's in the state's hands for closeout right now. We've submitted them everything they wanted for closeout. So they're in a closeout review on that one. Next project is beach renourishment, which they're just starting us pumping the sand and getting all that going. That one is obligated, and it is a large project, but it's only part of the whole project is being FEMA funded. So it's about 1.6 from FEMA on that one. Another one obligated was the vehicles and equipment lost during a storm, town and vehicles and equipment. That one is fully obligated. It's actually on the next step is closeout. We're finalizing a few bit of documentation with the state right now, and it'll be on closeout. So, and then Palm Avenue restroom trailer, same, is on closeout. They've already paid us. We got them all the information for that. And then the temporary town hall facility is a obligated project, but it'll be amended as it goes on, just depending on how much rent is being used on the trailers till the new town hall's complete or ready. And those are the obligated projects. The pending obligation is another EPM, which was from 12/8 beyond to the end of March. And that was a 90% cost share. So the town gets 90% of the money back, and then 10% cover yourself, but the state covers half of that 10%. So you're only eligible for 5, or liable for 5, I should say. And that one is currently being reviewed by FEMA. It should be moving to obligation, we hope soon. Like the EPMs are the hardest ones to review because there's so many small items, where some of the larger projects are just big invoices and easier to review. So you want me to go down each list of the non-obligated, or, because there's 22 of them?
Yeah, I don't know that if we can just provide the list.
Yeah, it's-
Andy, if we could just provide that list to the public so they can go
Yeah.
through it as they want.
It's in my monthly report that I email
Yes.
you and Andy.
Yep.
So,
I
and
do have one question, though.
Yes, ma'am.
On, you were handling the elevate and rebuild for citizens, literally for residents, and that was submitted, correct?
That is, Dietrich will talk about that.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
hazard mitigation part. So
Great.
I'm just over public, so.
It's a lot
so-
of confusing parts.
Trust me, I
Thank
get
you.
questioned about it all the time,
Yeah.
but we have different divisions in the
Okay.
company that take care of different stuff, so. Any other questions by any council members or Andy or?
Just, you had mentioned that there's $50 million potentially out there. Of that 50 million, what percentage of the 50 million is already obligated?
It's 20
20
million,
million.
so.
So 20 million has been obligated. We have 30 million potential
Projects being
outstanding
written,
funds.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
It's, to be exact, 28.8 so is what's being worked on.
So Joe, you've got 30 million out there. Does that factor into your budget process, or do you, okay, all right, very good. It does, just for the record, Joe nodded his head, no, it does not. So this would be 30 million in addition to what's already in the budget. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank y'all. Dietrich will be up next.
Come on up, Dietrich.
Morning, I'm Diederik. Adrian just introduced me. So my side of...
Just state your name, though, for the record, so we have it.
Apologies, my name is Diederik, my last name is Bissett. I'm with Tidal Basin, so I represent the town of Fort Myers Beach with Tidal Basin to the state and to FDM. He was referring to 404 with reconstruction and elevation as he was standing. So those are two different projects for mitigation that falls on the 404 funding. And currently, we've submitted estimates to the state of Florida, FDM, for approval and review based solely on the reconstruction elevation projects. which includes for elevation, if my memory serves, my estimate included 47 applicants, and for reconstruction, I'm at 59 applicants. So those are two separate structures with two separate estimates. And 404 is a little bit different than what he was referring to. He was specifically relating to public assistance. 404 falls under public assistance, however, it's a separate bucket of money or funding source. And it has different requirements in terms of what is defined as a damage and what could be mitigated. So the state of Florida and town of Fort Myers Beach has decided on in the application of a couple of projects, and two of the main ones include elevation of property and reconstruction of property.
So, just speaking, I think, to your point, elevation, what is the process, or where is that in the process? And there's a lot of misconception about you can do things before it's gone through the state process, or you can't. Can you touch on that a little
Yes,
bit?
I've communicated with applicants, and I'm very familiar that there was communication beforehand as well. It's very important not to start any work for mitigation projects, specifically for 404. There are some circumstances, but without approval, it is very important not to start any work before the project is approved. In other words, breaking ground or put
Shovels in the ground.
shovels in the ground. It is very important. Those projects, specifically, we've complied to the latest RFIs, request for information from FDEM, on July 29. It was a Monday, I think. So we've answered all of the final requests for information. We're just awaiting FDEM Florida to make a decision on the path forward.
So it's in FDM's hands. We're
Correct.
just waiting for a response.
At this point, it's in
Yeah.
FDM's hands, and it's awaiting their response. They're diligently working on verifying the estimates. I've done the estimates. It's in compliance with federal standards, and I've made sure that everything is accounted for in terms of the process step for FEMA to actually, or for FDM to actually award the application. So at this point, it is with FDM. That is correct.
And will you be having the communication with the resident? Like you said, it was 47 and 59?
59, correct.
So will you be having direct communication with them when you get the final word from FDM? Or is that something that the town will do, or both?
I will, by the direction of the town, I will, and I have been communicating with them via email, text, and
Okay.
phone. I've made a couple of appointments for the week for some residents. I've also communicated with them previously, and my details is on the website, correct?
So just to be clear, if someone starts on a project that hasn't been approved yet, then that could negate their funding for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Going. Any questions for Dietrich? Did you have more to speak on, or was that the only?
No, thank you.
You sure?
Well, any questions I'm willing to answer. I think it's just it takes time. I've worked with a lot of applicants all over the United States, and a lot of applicants, when I say applicants, the town of Fort Myers Beach is an applicant. You have phenomenal leadership at Fort Myers Beach. I think it's because it's smaller, it's more concise, it's more focused. The way they help and reach out, honestly, I've never seen a team this proactive and corresponding. I don't think your issue is your leadership. I just think it's going to take a little bit of time. And it took a lot of time already, I understand that. But you have excellent leadership at Fort Myers Beach. And even with FDEM, Kevin Guthrie, Kevin Atkinson, those guys are phenomenal. Everybody's trying to put this at the top of their agenda and make a decision as soon as possible.
It certainly won't hold you to it, but in your experience, how long, on average, does it take from that, I know you knew I was going to ask this, didn't you? I could see this. How long, on average, because I'm sure we'll be asked, and again, we won't hold it to you, but from where we're at to getting the final approval, or do you think that there could be some more questions or some more things coming from FDEM that we have to provide, or you have to provide, to be able to get these people to start?
So a loaded question.
It is.
These RFIs comes in waves and flags. They have certain requirements to review specific components to federal compliance. Typically, you go through the initial phase of figuring out what's going on. I think we're way past that phase. I think we're in the final phase of determining that everything has been complied to. And I think, based on my past experience, that we are very close for them to make a decision. The questions and the RFIs coming out is very technical and specific, just to brush up on similar items that's not been cleared out or not specifically been addressed, but it's not ineligible ineligibility determination questions, in my experience. So I think you're closer than ever.
Well, we'll take that. All right, any other questions for Dietrich? Thank you, sir.
I'll be here this week if someone wants to reach out for a meeting.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is the approval of the minutes. We have the town council minutes from August 7th, 2024, and the M&P planning session from August 7th. Is there a motion to approve the
I've
minutes?
got possible correction on the M&P.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I guess I'm going from memory, which is probably not very good. But Sarah Probst talked about code not being clearly defining a dwelling, the minutes say. I remember that as a kitchen, because it talked about 220 plug. So I think it should refer to a kitchen instead of a dwelling, or?
So that conversation was about, yes, it is a dwelling unit definition, because our current dwelling unit definition says with or without a kitchen.
Okay.
Which I think is, I don't think most
So
people
then it really
would-
doesn't need to be corrected. That's my
Yeah,
error.
but we could define kitchen, which would make sense also.
I have one thing, it's just, the paragraph on page 5 is the same as the first paragraph on page 6. It looks like it's just a typo, but
Okay, anything else?
our council meeting, it's on the bottom of page 5 and the top of page 6 it looks like the paragraph was repeated.
John, did you have anything else? You said you,
No, that was it.
any other
Mayor,
changes?
I
Yes.
received an email about the presentation from Len Januzik about changing the minutes. He was not representing the United States Task Force on National and Homeland Security. He was representing his company, J&L Resources. And also, the attorney, Tom Silke, he says, while I'm an attorney, I was not participating in that capacity. I was there on behalf of my company, Electric Island Systems. So we'd like to correct that also.
Very good. Any other changes?
Move to approve is corrected.
All right.
I'll second.
A motion by Counselor King, seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously. Next is a consent agenda. We have nothing on that, nothing to remove from the consent agenda. That brings us to our public hearing. Item A has been rescheduled, as the town attorney has laid out. That brings us to item B. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing for review on various land use requests for the benefit of the public. Please be aware that these items are quasi-judicial in nature. Our attorney will further explain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So your next item is a rezoning, and rezonings are quasi-judicial in nature, and this requires that our public hearing regarding this matter comply with procedural requirements that have been established in Florida law and in our land development code. So these quasi-judicial proceedings, they're less formal than proceedings before a circuit court, but they are more formal than the remainder of our meeting, and they follow basic standards of due process regarding noticing the application of the correct standard and decisions that are made on competent and substantial evidence that is presented to town council in written document or through oral testimony. So once presented, the town council will evaluate the testimony and the information for this item and draw a conclusion regarding whether the criteria in our land development code, our comprehensive plan, or in state law, as may be applicable, has been satisfied. So pure speculation or mere opinion that is not based on competent facts cannot legally be considered by the town council in evaluating this agenda item. Testimony by professionals who are qualified as experts in a particular area has been considered competent evidence by the Florida courts, as well as testimony by neighbors and residents who have fact-based information, such as minutes, surveys, engineering reports, or testimony that is based on their personal knowledge. So if you are intending to speak regarding this item, please keep these comments in mind. When you come forward, state your name clearly for the record and whether or not you have been sworn in, and your qualifications or your interest in the matter. So for purposes of efficiency, we are going to go ahead and dispose of a few housekeeping matters related to this quasi-judicial matter. So I need to ask our town clerk, has this item been properly advertised pursuant to our land development code?
Yes, it has been.
Thank you. And also, at this time, if any council member has a conflict of interest that would prohibit them from voting on this item, could you please disclose it for the record at this time so we can ensure that we have a quorum present?
Counselor King?
None.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
None.
I do not have any. Counselor Woodson?
None.
Counselor Safford?
I do not.
Okay, so right now, if there is anyone who is present that would like to provide testimony regarding this item, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in by the town clerk.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, all parties have been sworn.
Okay. Just a quick thing before I read this. In the paper that we have, the ordinance or the resolution number is different than what is in the agenda packet. Is it 2419 or 2418?
Find out.
Just want to make sure I'm reading the right one into the record.
I lost my page. It went down on me here.
It's on page 21 of the packet.
Yeah, the whole packet closed on me.
Oh, okay.
Looks like it's 2418 to me,
On this it is, but in here it's...
but on the ordinance itself.
Yeah.
Oh, it changed, so maybe I
Yeah,
don't know.
I believe it's 18.
Okay,
So this is...
then I will read this. This is the first reading, this is ordinance 24-18, DCI 202-401-43, 1668 I Street, Beach Bar. This is a first reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 24-19 entitled, "An Ordinance of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions, or denying a request to rezone the property located at 1668 I Street, generally identified as strap number 19-46-24-W4-0070B.0110, Fort Myers Beach, from downtown to commercially planned development, CPD zoning, with deviations for a bar and residence, providing for other clarifications as necessary, providing for conflicts of law, Scrivener's errors, severability, and providing for an effective date. I'll now open the public hearing. If any town council member has had any ex parte communication to disclose, please let us know the subject discussed and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, any correspondence that you received, or observations made of the site. Counselor Safford?
I'm very, very familiar with the property. I've had conversations with the engineer, the architect, the builder, and both Madeline and Greg. Nothing, though, however, recently.
Okay. Counselor Woodson?
I know the property, but I have had no,
I know the property obviously as well. I've had just brief conversations with the applicant. Counselor King?
As I recall, I just know where the property is, but I don't recall any other
Okay.
issues.
And we will have to wait for 1 second for Vice Mayor Adderholt to return. I think he might be going to get his umbrella, it sounds like.
Jim?
Mayor, the correct ordinance number is 2418.
Okay, and that's what I read.
Here comes our social butterfly.
Jim, we just need to know if you have had any ex parte communication.
Not to my knowledge, but I also have an important announcement to make. Shut the water off here for about 30 minutes as they're working on the building. So if anybody needs to use the restroom and have a sense of urgency about it, you might want to use it now because it'll be out for about 30 minutes. So that's all I've got, Mr. Mayor. But no ex parte.
Okay.
At least to my knowledge. I can't recall any.
Recess.
You want to,
Yeah, so you've lost a council member, so you probably just take a 5-minute recess.
She'll be right back.
okay. Okay, can I just read this and by that time she'll be back before we actually start?
Yes.
instead of taking a recess?
Yes, did she make any disclosures? Any?
She did, she did. She did her ex parte, so I will
Yes.
read very slow.
Go ahead. Okay.
Sarah Prost has been qualified as an expert already by this town council, and based on her education and experience, has been accepted as an expert in the field of land use, planning, and development in the town of Fort Myers Beach. Are there any other individuals who would like to be qualified as an expert witness on behalf of the applicant at this time? Mr. Inc., I believe he has been qualified in the past, and Mr. Ambrose, I believe he has as well. So we do not need to do that again, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Has the property owner applicant seen a copy of the agenda backup materials from staff? Yes, they have. Sarah, go ahead and proceed.
Should I wait till?
Just give it a second.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can identify yourself, just in case people forget who you are.
Good morning, Sarah Probst with Community Development.
Well, I tried to go as slow as I could.
Here she comes.
Okay, Sarah, take it away.
Good morning, Sarah Probst with Community Development. James Inc., on behalf of B&B Properties of Fort Myers Beach, owner of 1668 I Street, is requesting a rezoning from downtown to commercial plan development for the redevelopment of a bar and a dwelling unit. The residential use is allowed in the downtown zoning district, and the bar use received approval through Lee County Special Permit Case 95-10-173 and has been in operation since 1995. The proposed development will contain a ground floor open area used as a bar with some retail space, which will be open to the beach where a sand seating area is located. A residence is proposed on the second and third stories of the structure. The applicant is requesting a CPD in order to increase the allowable floor area ratio from 1.0 to 1.4 to allow additional square footage of the proposed development. This parcel is located in the 1.0 FAR area of the downtown zoning district, and the lot contains only 4,159 square feet of downtown zoned property. An FAR of 1 would allow a maximum of 4,159 square feet of development, and the proposed development is 5,822. So a difference of almost 2,000. The LPA unanimously recommended approval of the request at the June 11th meeting. I'm available for any questions you may have, and the applicant is also here.
John, any questions for Sarah?
None.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Not at this time.
Counselor Woodson?
Not at this time.
Counselor Stafford?
None at this time.
And I do not have any at this time. Thanks, Sarah. Jim?
Morning, Mayor, Council. Can we get the, oh, good. I'm here this morning to talk about the beach bar. This is DCA 2024-0143. It is a CPD, but it is probably one of the most straightforward CPDs you'll see on the island, since we're only asking for one deviation and nothing else. Our team is here. Greg, as you know, is the owner for B&B Properties. I am Jim Enck from Enck Engineering. I handle the planning and the engineering. Albert D'Ambrose is the architect that gets to draw this wonderful looking building that has that beach vibe and still brings it into the modern era of the beach. And our construction is by Stevens Construction, is under contract to build the project at this point. The request, as Sarah stated, is we're just asking for an increase in the FAR in this area. Under the current land development code, the FAR is 1.0. We would like to do a little bit bigger building, 2-story over parking, as you saw, which requires a little bit more FAR. And one has to realize when the town was created, this 1.0 FAR is probably outside of Times Square in Old San Carlos. It's in the downtown district. It's in pedestrian commercial. The comp plan allows for a 2.5 FAR under the comp plan, so we're consistent with the comp plan. But the 1.0 in the modern world is a little strict based on how we calculate the FAR on this property. Here's a picture of the area that shows, I know it's kind of far away, but I think it's in your packet, is we have the lot, and the uniqueness of these Gulfront lots is we have the old DEP 78 coastal construction line that when the town was created, they decided that was a good place to separate future land use categories. So the downtown district is in less than half of the lot, and the seaward side is in environmental critical and recreational zoning and that type of thing. With the FAR calculation, we cannot use the lands that's below that line. We can only use those little lots. So these lots are very small. They're almost cottage lots in some instances. So it creates a problem of what we can and can't use for our FAR calculations. A little bit on the property, 1618 I Street, pedestrian commercial, as I said. Its zoning is a downtown district. It's a 0.23 acre lot. 0.1 acres is the upland portion. 0.13 acres is the recreational environmental critical part. We have been working at this project diligently for a while. It has existing entitlements from a 1988 variance and a 1995 COP from Lee County, which has given them the entitlements to work under. We have applied for the DO. We're essentially real close to being done with the DO. We've applied for the building permit. We're also real essentially being done with that part, but we got into this process because of the FAR, and we kind of guess going at it backwards is we're having to do the zoning with the DO and the building permit essentially reviewed and done with just some minor comments that are left. We have also obtained our coastal construction line permit from DEP. So in reality, we get through this process. If you decide that this is a good project, which I encourage, this project's going to be under construction within weeks after we get everything cleaned up on this part. Wanted to talk a little bit here about why we have the FAR. This is a little bit zoomed in. In blue, you can see it. The salmon color is the upland portion. That's all we can use for FARs. And if you look down I Street and Alva Street, you can see that there are a number of lots that are there. There's still 3 existing houses that are there. And you can see that those lots are a lot less than what they own to. That bright yellow line is actually what they own their property rights to. This shows the lot. The yellow is the upland portion. The green is the environmental critical portion.
Jim, I don't want you to skip over that last point that you made,
Okay.
because I don't think a lot of people understand that even though you own the land that goes out there because of the coastal construction line where it is, you can't use that land as to count towards your FAR, your floor area ratio.
That is correct. Is previous when it was Lee County, it was a 40% lot coverage of the whole lot. But when the town incorporated and they made their own comprehensive plan, they decided to make this environmentally critical land, which is the green. And in that land, you can't use it for density, which doesn't apply to us, and you can't use it for intensity for your FAR calculations. So they kind of maybe extracted some property rights. That's beyond my testimony, but it creates a problem is we just have these little parts of lots that we have to work with.
But it's the main source for the reason for your
But it
application.
is why we're here. This is why we're here. Site plan and you have to kind of go with me. We've now flipped the site plan. So the building is in Salmon, and the seating area, which I'll explain in a minute, in the area that's existing. So it shows the salmon area. We have a build-to line that we have to build to. We have setbacks. We meet all those requirements with our house. The old 88 and 95 county entitlements has a list of 8 or 9 conditions of how the bar has to operate. We can have 75 seats. It has to be curtailed. We have to have it roped off. You can only provide alcohol from the actual person that pours the drink or hands you the beer. It has to be consumed on the property. It can't be walked off. There's limits of hours. There's all of those conditions on there. So as a CPD, we had to create our own property development regulations because this is a standalone ordinance. It'll be outside the land development code. So what we've created is the setbacks and the FAR, building coverage and height. Those are all identical to the downtown zoning district, except for the FAR where we bumped it up to 1.4. Schedule of uses, we have to create our own schedule of uses. Downtown is a very liberal number of uses. Well, we've whittled it down to what we need to operate this facility. And you can see some of them on there is on-premises alcohol, bar and cocktail lounges, and the retail store, but it also says existing conditions. So we're tying it back to the original entitlement. Nothing new, nothing different than the way it's been operating for the entire time. The deviation request is asking for 1.4 over 1.0. And I want to use them, the justification is there in verbiage of I Street and this, that, and the other, but I wanted to use the graphics a little better. This shows back to the future land use. It shows the salmon color that's there. And as I said before, there's 3 houses that are there. There's these 3 houses, which 70 Avenue E is right across the street, big yellow one. And if you look at that, they have a larger lot, so their FAR, the way we calculate it, and this is done by aerial interpretation, so it might vary just a little bit, is 0.7. But if you take that building and you pick it up and put it on Greg's property, then it goes up to almost 1.4. So that is similar to what's there. If you go down the street to Alva Street, the one in the middle, and you do that, that one is higher, and it's actually a 1.44, so it's not conforming today. It was built when the code was in effect, but that was previous administrations, and I have no record of how that happened, but it's at 1.44. On down the other part of I Street, that one also is non-compliant. And if you put that on Greg's lot, it comes out to like 2. So we've designed around it. One of my suggestions as you go through the land development code that you've hired Sarah to rewrite the land development code is maybe you need to look at this 1.0 in that section of the beach. Is that appropriate? Or is the 1.4, which is allowable up and down Estero Boulevard, more appropriate? I'm just looking for the potential. You make that fix, you probably don't have a lot of people in here doing what I'm doing right now, if that's appropriate. The conditions, this is a rewrite of all the conditions that are in the old 8895 language, specifically to put it in this ordinance. So we're basically taking a bunch of collection of papers and things that were done a long time ago, and we're bringing it in and we're updating the ordinance so that the ordinance is clear and concise and can move forward. And it's also as a safeguard, condition number 10 says that if there's a difference between this ordinance and the original variants and COPs, the original is the ruling document. So we're not changing anything, we're not taking anything away, we're not adding anything. It's just operationally going to be exactly the same. So in summary, all we're asking for is this increase in the FAR from 1.0 to 1.4. In my professional opinion, as in the planning aspect here, I think I've presented competent evidence that this is reasonable. It's in the interest of the property owner. It doesn't cause any health, safety, welfare issues with the town. And at that point, I'm here to answer questions, and if you want to get into the architecture, Albert's also here.
Jim, I think in reading this, I think an important point that you didn't bring up, but you probably maybe should, is you're decreasing density. Technically, you had 2 units there prior to the storm, correct?
That is correct.
And now you're going to have one
Yeah, we
living
looked
unit.
at the build-back part of staying within the build-back, and it had a house and it had a very small accessory apartment to it. And by going to the new code, we're just doing one single-family house. So essentially, the mayor is correct. We've lost one density unit, which by traffic is 10 trips a day, or 1 or 2 AM, PM peaks. So we're actually less in the intensity from that standpoint.
Scott, questions for Jim?
No, sir.
Karen?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Jim?
Did you say that Greg was here, the owner?
He is.
Greg is
I'm
right
sorry, I
there.
couldn't see it, Greg. Could you just have a few questions? If you could come up. Non-technical in nature. First of all, good morning. Thank you for bringing the beach bar back, first of all. Second of all, can you kind of walk us through the first floor, the ground floor of the new building compared to what it was before? Just give us a flavor of what it'd be like.
Well, it's going to be extremely similar to what it was.
Greg, just to say your name for the record, please, before you go.
Oh, and I wasn't sworn in. Do I have to swear in? I didn't stand earlier.
Yes, she'll
Yeah.
swear you in.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
Thank you for your honesty.
All right, if you'll raise your right hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. He's been sworn.
Like I say, it's going to be extremely similar. The
Can
two
you
big
state your name for the
differences
record,
are
please?
The
Greg,
bathroom.
you still got to say your name for the record.
Oh, Greg Boyd.
All right, take it away, Greg.
The two big differences are the bathrooms and the cooler. The bathrooms we can no longer have downstairs, so we have designed, we haven't put the order in yet. We've got a builder and everything. That we're going to build a mobile unit that we can push right into the thing. We're going to connect it to the sewer system, so there's not going to be any pump outs and stuff. Same thing with this cooler. We have one designed, ready to roll. We're going to back it in, and when the weather says we got to get out, we can drag them right out.
Very good. But for the customers going in, will there be a stage for the band, a formal stage, or will it be similar to how it was before, or how will it be laid out?
I'm not allowed to have seats in that place, so we never did.
Yep.
So it's all going to be on the beach. All
And-
our tables and chairs are going to be on the beach.
And those table and chairs will be on the beach, so your toes will literally be in the sand. Is that
just like it is,
Just like it was
just
before?
like it was, and just like it is today.
Very good,
Right,
very good.
right.
This is completely out of bounds, but I've got to ask you this. How do you get those bands at the beach bar? I know it's a blues bar theme, but these are bands that rarely ever come to the island, if ever, except to come to your place. How do you guys do that?
Well,
Have you
it's-
seen him
it's-
dance?
I got to tell you, it's just through the bands. These guys introduce me to guys. They know guys that want to work. We stick with this type of music, this theme,
Yeah,
and these guys are hungry for work.
yeah. It's great stuff, and it's just, you just don't see it on the island anywhere else.
Well, again,
Yeah.
it's not the popular, it's not a rock and roll, it's not a country, it's just a little different,
Yeah, it's great. No,
And it's not music I was familiar with.
Yeah.
I get introduced to these guys by these guys, and we kind of ran with it a little bit, And meanwhile, I just completed a 3-day harmonica course, and I'm sitting in with these guys now.
Very cool.
Oh,
Fun
no.
stuff.
Very cool.
Greg, you're trying to sell now. Scare people away.
And in a perfect world, Greg, assuming everything goes smoothly, when do you hope to cut the ribbon to be open?
Well, 8 months after you give me the price okay to get the shovel in the ground.
But the construction would only be 8 months long?
Well,
You'd
that's
be-
what we're hoping.
Very good. Thank you very much. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
John?
No questions.
Jim, will the existing conditions include the PWVL that are currently there? Will those stay, or will those go away with this CPD?
The existing conditions from
Yes.
the 8895,
Yeah,
those are rewritten into this ordinance,
okay.
but they also stay with this ordinance as backup, so there's not any confusion.
Okay. You answered the question that I had. Any other questions for Jim? All right, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
We'll now open it up for public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment, bring it back to council for discussion. Make sure I'm saying it the correct way. Hold on. Are there any, I already said that. Are there any additional comments, rebuttal, or closing statements from the applicant? Guessing probably not. No. Okay, I will now close the public hearing and request a discussion or a motion from town council to approve with conditions, or deny with reasons, or a continuance to a time certain. Is there any further discussion? Is there a motion?
I move we approve ordinance 2418, DC 12024, 0143, 1668, the beach bar.
Second.
I'll second.
Oh, sorry.
To,
Go ahead,
to,
Councilor
adi-
Wood.
to the second reading on date certain September 9th.
We've got a motion by Counselor Safford, seconded by Vice Mayor Adderholt. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Next is item C that has been moved. That's ordinance 24-19, amendment of immobilization payment options. That is being moved to the September 9th meeting,
Yes, rescheduled.
rescheduled to the September 9th meeting. Next is item D, ordinance 24-10, comprehensive plan adoption hearing. As stated at the beginning, we will read it into record, open it up for public comment, and then close the hearing, or reschedule the hearing to
Entertain a motion to continue to a date certain.
what you said.
Yes.
Okay. This is ordinance 24-10, comprehensive plan hearing. This is the second reading, adoption, and final public hearing of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending the town of Fort Myers Beach comprehensive plan in its entirety pursuant to 163.31843 Florida statutes, providing for adoption of the town of Fort Myers Beach comprehensive plan 2040, including amendments to the future land use element and the future land use map, the community design element, the transportation element, the housing element, the historic preservation element, utilities element, the conservation element, the coastal management element, the recreation and open space element, the intergovernmental coordination element, and the capital improvements element, inclusive of all associated tables, exhibits, and maps, authorizing findings and administrative actions, providing for transmittal, providing for severability, providing for Scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. With that, we'll open up to public comment. Would there be, yep, come on up, Jim.
For the record, Jim Ank, here representing the Women's Club. It come to my attention this morning that their property on Sterling and maybe the Mosquito Board and a couple others may be changing future land use to Commercial Boulevard. And I just want to, I have no idea what that means right now that I'm saying, but I want to make sure that it doesn't create a problem with what our existing entitlements are.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Jim. Anyone else? Bill, come on up.
So, of course, we sat through the LPA joint meetings, the town council meetings, and this has been going for quite some time. Just one concern I have is that during the Myerside hearings, in the staff notes, it mentions as talking about the multiplier and about density. And it specifically says that the new comprehensive plan that has been transmitted to the state for approval applies only FAR to commercial uses. Though not fully adopted, the request be appropriate for that increased density they had. So my concern here is I don't think there was, in my recollection, I don't think there was any kind of appetite for the LPA or the town council to give people this additional density by right in a commercial property. I've talked to Sarah about this a bit. There's also, you know, the LDC, change in the LDC portion of this, and I would have some concerns about something in the code that would take the town council out of the equation. It would give people density in commercial properties that they would not have before these changes, and so that you don't have the ability to determine if that's appropriate or to use that for negotiation. The other thing is that there's some corresponding LDC changes that go along with this comprehensive plan, and that make sure we don't create a window where you've allowed something by the comprehensive plan. The intent is to restrict it in the LDC, but until you make those LDC changes, you have a window where it's open. So that's just my caution, is to make sure that the town council and the staff are still the ones that are going to approve projects and determine their appropriateness, and not have some of these projects be able to add additional density by right.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the council for a motion to continue until
To
date certain
September-
of
yeah.
September 9th.
Yes.
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor King.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? You want a roll call vote on this as well? Okay, Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Next is the administrative agenda. Item A is Resolution 24-160, Estero Island Shore Project, or Protection Project. It's a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach authorizing town staff to submit a funding request to Florida Department of Environmental Protection for the Estero Island Shore Protection Project, and authorizing local matching funds for funding received from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and providing for an effective date. Chad?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Chad Schutz, environmental staff for the town. So we were insistent on getting the beach maintenance, hotspot maintenance, for after we've done renourishing the beach. We're anticipating more storms, scour erosion. So in order to get ahead of that, putting in this application so that we do have funding should the need arise to repair the beach.
Questions for Chad? Counselor King?
None.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Nothing.
I do not have any. Counselor Woodson?
So these are additional funds that we're going after just in case, correct?
Yeah, correct. You know, this is a big project that we're doing right now.
Right.
It's broad strokes. You know, after Mother Nature does what she does over a year, we may see some scouring and yes, so additional funds from FDEP, and then we can work with TDC and the Beach Trust Fund, Steve Boutel and his team to get funding from the county as well as a local match.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, you're welcome.
Counselor Safford?
I don't have a comment, but on the blue sheet, this says it's Resolution 2024-186, but here it says 160. Just want to make sure we're,
It should be 160.
it's page 247.
Yep.
I apologize.
No, I just want to make sure we get the money.
Yeah, it says blue sheet number, but it doesn't say the resolution. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, 2024-186.
Shouldn't
Yeah.
those match, though?
No, that's
No.
the systems number for the
Oh, okay.
thing.
Make sure.
That's the blue sheet number,
Yeah, the resolution will always be below the blue sheet line, right?
correct?
So even though, Nancy, even though it doesn't say it in the agenda packet, the resolution number, but it does say it on the printout that we have?
That's fine, but the printout that you have should be the same number that's on the resolution in your packet. Just as we had a little scrivener's error before on the ordinance, just validating.
Oh, it does say it down under the attachments. It does say attachment number 1, it shows 24-160
Yeah, we're
But the
talking about
resolution-
this number.
on page 247.
But the resolution is correct.
Yeah, as long as the resolution has the correct number on it, we're fine.
Okay, I see it
That's-
now.
That's the critical document.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No other questions?
No further questions?
All right, thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
All right, is there a motion to approve Resolution 24-160, the
I'll
Estero
move
Island
that.
Shores Protection Project?
I'll go ahead and move that, Mayor.
Got a motion by Counselor King,
I'll second.
seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussion? You want a roll call on this as well? Okay, Counselor King,
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. The motion carries unanimously. Next is item B. This is resolution number 24-153. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Lee County, Florida, approving grant agreement number HL 277 with the State of Florida Department of Commerce in the amount of $8 million for purchase of a new town hall, approving a required budget adjustment, number 6, ratifying the mayor's signature and authorization to sign any and all necessary documents to acquire the grant retroactive to July 1st, 2024, and providing an effective date. Joe?
Good morning, everyone. Joe Onzig, Finance Director. So it is my privilege this morning to present this resolution accepting the $8 million grant from the state of Florida to fund our new town hall. I put together just a couple of slides just to summarize what this involves. I'm sorry I wasn't anticipating being in this venue, so this probably is a little bit too small for you to see, but
They have
We can see, we got copies of it.
okay, very good. So the town, as you know, is purchasing the building at 6231 Estero Boulevard for approximately $7 million to become the new town hall. The town is also purchasing adjacent property at 622 Estero Boulevard for approximately $1.7 million to provide the parking for the new town hall. The town was awarded the $8 million grant from the state of Florida, and that was part of the General Appropriations Act. And this amount will be administered, or this grant will be administered through the Department of Commerce. We also have insurance reimbursement from the destruction of the former town hall that will also be used to fund the difference between the $8 million grant and the cost of the town hall replacement properties. The resolution authorizes acceptance of the $8 million grant and also the budget adjustment that is necessary to fund the purchase of the building and the adjacent property. And just so you're aware, there is an additional budget amount that is provided in next year's, the 2025 budget, that would take care of the actual remodeling and renovation that needs to be done to the building to have it become the new town hall. So this just summarizes what you're approving in this resolution. So we have, as far as the funding sources, it's the $8 million state grant. There's $735,000 of insurance proceeds that are carrying over from that we received last year that will be carried over to pay for this. That's the total of $8,735,000. $7 million of it will be used for the building. $1.7 million is for the adjacent property, and then roughly $35,000 of closing costs. So that accounts for everything that's included in this resolution, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
If
Go
I
ahead. Oh,
may
yep,
I
go ahead.
add a little bit? So, working with Joe, we basically are in the closing mode right now. Joe and the mayor and our town manager authorized the expenditure of the money for the acquisition. The funds are sitting in the escrow account waiting for the documents from the seller. We received the documents just a few minutes ago, so we're reviewing them. As soon as we verify that the documents are correct, we will then wire the money to the seller and record the deed. Upon the recording of the deed, the property would officially be under town ownership. But we're not there yet, but we're really close.
Good. Vice Mayor?
Sure you have the correct wire instructions?
That's what we're double checking, yes.
Vice Mayor Earl?
Yeah, I've got a question. First of all, great plan, Joe, Andy, perfect. It's great strategy. One of the things that struck me, and has nothing to do with Joe or Andy, and this has all preceded you, but I have to say I'm stunned. The insurance proceeds total $735,000. It's a conservative estimate to say that to build a new town hall was $24 million. Is that the entirety of the insurance settlement, that $735,000? Is there still some dispute, or what?
Oh, no, that's only the portion that's being used for this resolution. There's roughly, if I remember correctly, it's at least $2.5 million that we've received altogether so far for the building and the contents of the building. And it's still, we're not finished working with the insurance company. There's still probably more coming, but that's what we have so far. And so the remainder of that insurance proceeds, beyond the $735,000, is what's incorporated into next year's budget to help pay for the renovations of the building.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Just out of curiosity, Andy, there's a lot of folklore out there that it may be very true. It certainly appears to be true that the town was underinsured for Hurricane Ian. Have you had a chance to do an assessment since you've been here as to whether we were underinsured, A, and B, have you changed insurance carriers? Are we still using the same insurance carrier? And C, do we have additional coverage now based upon your reassessment of things since you've been here?
Yeah. Yes, no, and yes. Yes, you were underinsured. No, we have not changed the carrier. It's Florida Municipal Insurance Trust, very reputable. And yes, we have elevated and continue to look at everything to make sure that we are fully insured. It costs a little more, but it pays a little more. So as we all know, it's something that you don't need until you need it. So
you have formally enhanced our coverages since you've been here?
Correct.
That's very helpful. Thank you very much. That's all I've got.
Counselor King?
Nothing for me.
You had referred, Jim, to the numbers, just to give you a general idea in today's costs and how great this is for the town and the taxpayers. To build the building that is sitting there currently, if you just eliminate the time that it would take to do it, in today's construction costs at 18,000 square feet, it would be right around $15 million. So almost double to build what is existing there versus what the town is acquiring it for. So I think this is a home run for the town. And good job by you, Joe, and staff to get this across the finish line, hopefully later today. Thanks, Joe.
We stretch this meeting off, we can probably close while we're here.
Don't jinx it. All right, thanks, Joe. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 24-153, Budget Amendment Number 6, for the purchase of the new town hall and acceptance of the grant?
So moved.
Second. Motion by Counselor Woodson, seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussion? Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. All right, next is item C, Resolution 24-159, ICS Materials, Inc.'s Tropical Storm Debbie Beach Cleanup. A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, ratifying action of the town taken August 9th, 2024, under the Emergency Procurement Policy to contract with ICS Materials, Inc. to take emergency proactive measures to remove hazards to the public health and safety from the beach and providing for an effective date. Chad?
Hey, Chad Schutz, environmental staff. So ICS was already mobilized, so we didn't have any mobilization costs that we typically have for such a beach cleanup. The rates were in accordance with FDOT rates, so all pretty straightforward. They did a great job. Pretty much done on the beach. We're going to be putting some sand, hopefully in the scour near the pier, kind of remove that hazard, if you will. But they did a great job. Have some before and after photos. I'll try and share them with the town manager to get with y'all.
And what's the time frame to remove what's now at Newton Park? And is it going to be going off island to a dump site, or what is the plan with that?
So they have 2 weeks, so within this week it'll be off. The dry weather did a great job at keeping the smell down. So yeah, hopefully this end of this week.
But it's safe to say when it starts getting moved, anybody that's been around silage knows that once you start disrupting the pile, the smell's probably going to come back for a little bit. but hopefully do you know how long it's going to take them to remove that pile?
Shouldn't be long. I'll get you an update.
Okay, just so people are aware that when the smell comes back, when it's going to be there and
Yeah,
how long
a
it's
couple
going to
days,
stay.
2-3 days max. Yeah.
All right, questions for Chad? Scott?
No.
Karen?
Nope.
Jim?
No.
John?
Good job.
Thank you.
All right. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 24-159, ICS Materials, Inc., Tropical Storm Debbie Beach Cleanup?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor Safford,
Second.
seconded by Counselor King. Any further discussion? Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. The motion carries unanimously. Next is item D, STA 14, GIS Mapping and Technical Support. Approve supplemental task authorization number 14 for GIS mapping and technical support in the amount of $36,000 performed by Axis Engineering, and authorize the town manager to execute the required documentation. Mr. Town Manager?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Sarah's here if you have any technical questions, but this is just a process that's necessary to get everything GIS mapped. Of course, our town is deficient in that area and lacking in some areas of GIS mapping, but this would just help get more information as we continue to recover and progress in moving forward with comp plans and everything else we have. And Sarah, I don't know if you have anything to add about that.
Sarah, can you just come up and explain real quick, as Vice Mayor Adderhall, it says 10,000-foot view of what GIS is and how that relates to stormwater, things like that, and what exactly this is going to do?
So right now, we pretty much solely rely on Lee County's GIS mapping and Lee property appraisers, but we don't really have an agreement to ensure that everything gets put into the system. And we've found that there are, when I went to look at the CB zoning district, I ran into reaching out to Lee County to find out what the zoning was, and several, to find out who was zoned CB. It was very unclear. They have a list, a big, long list, and a lot of them are not accurate. So we started going through the rezonings to figure out, what actually was zoned CB, and realized we have a lot of potential inaccuracies in our GIS. So our mapping may not be accurate, and we need to go through and really clean up everything and make sure that all of the data in our map is up to date, so that we can tell anybody without a doubt, this is what your zoning is, it's been this way since this date, and be aware of what is included there. So it could tie into public works projects, it could tie into beach projects, it could tie into a whole variety of projects, but we have to start out with that initial map that we can dump the information into.
Would this seems like it would be very important to have, maybe
Yes.
potentially before a new future land use map comes into play, or does it really have anything
No,
to do?
the future land use map isn't truly related to the specific zoning districts. The future land use map is more visionary, it's more large scale, what you want in different parts of the town, and then the zoning is sort of the underlying detail. But that detail does need to be correct, and that's where we do appear to have a lot of gaps in our data. So for GIS, it's called metadata that you tie into those specific parcels, so that when you click on a parcel, you're on public water and sewer, and how large the parcel is and what it's zoned. So just getting all of that information accurate is what we're needing to do.
Okay. Councilor King, questions for
None.
Sarah? None for you? Councilor Woodson?
I'm good, thanks.
Councilor Safford?
Not at this time.
All right, good.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve STA 14 GIS mapping and technical support?
So moved.
A motion by Councilor King. I will second. Any further discussion? Councilor King?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
Councilor Woodson?
Aye.
And Councilor Safford?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Last, our item E, STA 15, continued planning and zoning services. Approve supplementary task authorization number 15 for continued planning zoning services performed by Axis Engineering, and authorize the town manager to execute the required documentation. Andy?
Thank you, Mayor. This is just continuation for supplemental payment for professional services with the fiscal year FY24 through October. It's actually through September 30th, I think, as needed, but we will want to make sure that we have enough funds in there to pay Axis for their technical support.
Okay, questions for Andy?
Andy, I just have a quick question. It's been said, and if you could just help clarify, that a lot of this cost is actually incurred by the applicants, particularly in commercial developments. Is that a fair characterization?
That is correct. They do pay for the services. So Sarah can do, and Sarah can probably go a little more detail about it, but yes, Sarah.
Yeah, I think I'd just, if you don't mind, Sarah, just explain when a large commercial development or redevelopment comes forward with a CPD or development agreement, your costs to assess that proposal are not borne by the taxpayer, and explain how that works.
So whenever we have a large project, currently and for a very long time since I've been here, the fee schedule allows us to pass through costs with, I believe, a 3% administrative fee. So whenever we end up with a large project, the way I look at them is once they're assigned, if I've put in more than 10 hours, then that additional billing, so if we end up having 5 or 6 meetings with the applicant, or going back and forth to get these details worked out, then I will put in my timesheet the number of hours that I spent on that specific application, above and beyond the 10 hours that most, that I think 10 hours is probably actually very gracious.
And then for that excess, do you bill them, or does the town bill
The
them?
town bills. So you pay us, and then the town gets, but we do have, there are some subs that should be going directly to, being directly invoiced to the applicant. So there are different ways to handle that, but at this time, the way it's happening is we're billing the town for our hours, and then we're letting the town know what those hours are. Like if, different projects cost a different amount of money, then we're billing them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Anything, John?
Just how much are we talking, Mr. Manager?
This is 25,000.
I thought it said,
It says 93.
I mean, I'm sorry, wrong one. 93,000.
There you
It's
go.
in addition to what we've already budgeted.
And for clarification, this goes, I believe it was intended to go through the end of October, because we are, we're hitting a different deadline because of our library. And we wanted to make sure that the town didn't have any time where you didn't have services because the library hadn't been renewed, even if you had a new budget.
That is
Thank you.
correct, yes.
Thank you.
Counselor Woodson, any questions?
None. Thank you.
Counselor Stafford?
None.
All right, I don't have any either. Is there a motion to approve STA 15, continued planning and zoning services?
So moved.
Motion by Counselor King,
Second?
seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Stafford?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item F has been removed. That brings us to final public comment. I do not see anyone else here, so we will close final public comment. Town manager items.
Thank you, Mayor. I have just a few things, not very much, but we've already discussed voting. Of course, tomorrow's voting day. They've already delivered the voting machines, so the council chambers is locked off until to any visitors or residents until tomorrow when they open up. The front hall, town hall, the one-stop shop will be cleared out. They'll be using that for registration for people coming in to vote. We'll also have staff located other places. We encourage people to enter in through the administrative trailer that faces the pool. So we'll have signage out there in the morning to direct people. We did talk about the town hall closing and rehab. We will get going on that as quick as we can to be as efficient as we can and expedite the project a little quicker. Expeditiously was the word I was looking for. I found it. But we've got some work to do, obviously, on the top 2 floors. Not a lot. It's more cosmetic. Carpet paint, that sort of thing. A little bit of lighting, but very little, if any, other work up there. The downstairs, obviously, with the dais and the offices that we will have down there is going to, carry the bulk of it. Of course, painting the building, And then, of course, working on closing for the 7-Eleven property, getting that project going, getting that property elevated for storm control. We want to make sure our water, our storm water stays on our property, that we don't dump it in the street. We will probably see an improvement in that area just from the mere fact of what we are starting to plan. So those things are coming. In our MMP coming up in September, I'll have some more information, discussion about the strategic planning proposal. I've got it. Jason and I are reviewing it now before we bring it to you for full approval. And the funding source we think is available through the CDBG DR money. We've got $1.5 million, I believe, so we're making sure it qualifies. So we've got to spend the money, so it's a good area, and there's some things that we're looking at to be creative with how we spend money on some of the things we are doing, comp planning, things of that nature. So it might be that we can get really creative, and it doesn't hit our general funds or our planning building fund type area. The other things, lighting project has started. It's begun a couple weeks ago. We anticipate to see probably our first lights come on, not till probably November. They wanted to get through hurricane season, but they're working, and we'll continue to push and do what we can to get that done. Beach renourishment continues. Chad is on top of that, and you can see the dredge and everything out on the north end of the island. So, right? Yes, north end of the island. So they're getting everything going there. That should be ongoing. Chad can answer any questions about that if there are. And also the Tier 1 project continues. We have a lot of things going on in our town, as you well know, besides just rebuilding and the things that everybody else is doing. And I think, you know, a big thank you goes to you guys for having the vision to see the new town hall and the things that need to be done here, and support and just the way that we're approaching things. We talked a little bit about insurance this morning. We are still dealing with our insurer. We're disputing a little bit, so we're trying to get more money there. So we continue to fight that battle. And it's not really a battle, but it's just a discussion. And we prepared documents and submitted those. And the gentleman that received the documents with FMIT told our consultant that those were the best documents that have been submitted that he'd seen in quite a while. So I think we've got a really good chance to see our insurance payments go up, or what we get reimbursed. The other thing, and I guess the elephant in the room that everybody's looking at and addressing, is the FDOT project on the bridge. It was a little concerning when the mayor and I were talking Friday night. They closed one down. I think the biggest concern, that's a concern, but when I came over there about 10 o'clock, it's like I couldn't see the flagman. I couldn't see the people that were supposed to be there stopping the traffic, and that's just a disaster waiting to happen. So I am going to be in contact with them today to express my concern about them following their MOT plan. That is a document that the state requires, the Federal Department of Transportation, or the Federal Department of Transportation, but also the state. Very familiar with those documents. Anybody working on street projects understands that you don't do anything without following your MOT, and you have to submit that. So I'm going to get a copy of that to make sure that we are on top of what they're doing. We are not part of the project except for where it's located. So we will continue to work on that. That's all I have.
Do you want to just expound a little bit? I know I've talked about it, but going further, obviously the traffic pattern that we're all concerned with.
Yes.
If you want to touch on
We
that.
had the mayor and I were having a discussion, I guess, just right after they closed the road, and I was looking at it, and we've all been looking at it and trying to figure out why they closed around Margaritaville on Estero Boulevard and taking it down Crescent. Obviously, we're going to be getting a pump. I've already talked to Jeff. We're going to have a pump down there in case we get some heavy rains, and all of a sudden that's flooded, and we're just in gridlock trying to get off the island. But we had a meeting with them, I guess it's been a little over a week now, and they brought everybody to the table. We expressed our concern. We expressed, our desire to have them change their plan. The mayor had left and happened to see him down there, looking at things. And I noticed in some of the minutes on the agenda they had on their Thursday meeting was a discussion about that. So we continue to fight that. And I'm using the words fight. I mean, just have those discussions and work with them, to partner with them to make sure that our residents and visitors have a little cleaner access. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a challenge for the next year plus. So, it's going to be something that if you can go the other way, but then you have the bridge at the other end. So we've just got a lot of things going on this island all at the same time. So we do continue to work with with the partners at, not only with FPL, with the lighting project, but also with the county and with the state on this project and the contractor.
And Nancy, to that, in the discussion that we had with FDOT, one of their major concerns was having the ability to park some of their construction vehicles when they're down there, and that was the need. And we had talked about it that, you know, the town would be willing to look into providing spaces close to it for them. Would now be a good time to get consensus from the council to empower the town manager to make that decision, should it need to be made, or does that have to come before us for a policy decision?
That would expedite, I think, if you go ahead and provide that direction and authority to the town manager. We would create a document with FDOT identifying what spaces or area that they would be able to use. But yes, if you'd like to do that.
What we had talked about in the meeting specifically was the lot that the town owns behind the Surf Style place there. That's the closest parking to it. That and or under the bridge were the two locations of potentially putting their vehicles if they need to, if they can find a way to get traffic through there. So would just ask for consent from the council. Is that would be the best course of action?
Yes, authorizing the town manager to proceed as discussed and directed. And if you'd like, he can bring back the document, just if you want to see it, to ratify it, or just delegate the authority to him.
Okay, would that need to be in the form of a motion?
Yes, it should.
Then I will make a motion to give the town manager the discretion to do what he needs to do to potentially open up a thoroughfare for the FDOT project. I do not necessarily need to have it come back for ratification unless you feel that's legally.
No, the areas that you specified, is that the areas he's to look to, or do you want to give him more flexibility?
I would say the area that the town owns behind the Surf Style shop and or underneath the bridge, those two locations.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Yes, go ahead.
I'm just going to say consent.
Okay. All those in, John?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Any-
Are you asking for my vote, or?
I'm just asking for if you have any input.
No questions.
Okay. Counselor Woodson? All right, we've got a motion by Mayor Aller, seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. You all done, Andy?
I had a couple,
Go ahead.
just a couple things, Andy. I've received a number of constituent inquiries. Trust me when I say this, I'm not a subject matter expert, but there seems to be a debate brewing about the proper landscaping next to Times Square by the wavy wall. And I just wondered if you'd be so kind as to reach out to the Garden Club and see if you could sit down and at least hear their concerns and see if we can, I don't know what the answer is there, but just because I'm not a subject matter expert, but that seems to be a matter of concern.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And then I had a chance to meet with Jason on Friday, and I wondered, Jason, if you'd be so kind as to give us a brief update. We talked at the last meeting about the town pursuing through the Florida various land grant organizations, land trusts, that we would acquire the Strandview property next to Newton Park, thereby almost doubling the size of Newton Park. And I just wanted to see if you could give us a little update based upon our conversation on Friday.
You could, go ahead. Do it now. I was going to say we could do it under the council member.
Oh, I didn't, yeah, I thought it was any
That's
town
fine.
manager.
Go ahead.
Whatever.
Yeah, either. Jason Freeman for the record. So I've been working with Andy and our team on reaching out to a couple different sources. There's the Trust for Public Lands, which is that nonprofit that came initially to you all probably about a year ago at this point. So it's a funding source. And then we're also looking into a couple FDEP opportunities for their parks and recreation grants, the Florida Communities Trust. There's a couple different options. We're going to try and focus, I think, on the Florida opportunities first. So we're in communication with them. We're kind of right at a great time to start looking into it. From initial conversations with them, the grant cycles are opening up towards the end of this year. So hopefully we can kind of stick with it and keep those conversations going. From what we've learned so far, funding isn't immediate, but I think identifying a property helps, and just keeping that process rolling through, I think, all different ways, just to see who can help us fund that. So,
Thank you, Jason.
absolutely.
See, Mr. Mayor, I won't have any council items, so it's going to be more efficient in the long run.
It's a horse piece. Anyone else have anything else for town manager?
I would just like, do you have a timeline? I know in the past we talked about you were hoping to get the council in there after the November election, and then the rest of the staff, if you have a timeline for that, the new town hall.
As we sit here today, I think there's a couple of you that have never really been sworn in a town hall.
So that would be all of us.
So,
I think
or
it's
all
all
of
of
you.
us.
Yeah, all of us at
So
this point.
what the plan is at this point, no matter where the construction phase is in the downstairs, we can have a squaring in down there or upstairs in the bigger room. So we're going to have it in the new town hall, I think, as soon as it's supposed to be done, right after the election in November. So we'll be doing that. We'll be getting that information out. We'll also continue to, push a contractor as soon as we get them. I've already started working with an architect to kind of do some design things down there. They were on our preferred list, so professional services. So I went ahead and kind of jumped the gun, anticipating the closing today. Knock on some wood somewhere. But I think in a perfect world, we'd be in there by the first of the year, but I think we have the luxury, the thing's the elevator, and if we can get the elevator in the next 2 to 3 months, and we can get the upstairs carpeted and painted, we actually could probably have council meetings on the second floor upstairs by the first of the year. Not necessarily downstairs in the official council chambers, but upstairs in I'm not sure what the word would be, but the unofficial council chambers. So we're going to work really hard to get that accomplished. And of course, then we've got to work to get trailers removed and get the park project going and swimming pool and things like that. So there's a lot of things that are going to be coming to you over the next, 30 to 90 days that are going to really make a big impact on our town.
Thank you.
All right. Town attorney items.
So this week I sent an email about some new legislation regarding public sleeping and camping. And I was hoping that today you can provide direction on if you want me to come back with an ordinance that would basically not authorize public sleeping and camping. The new legislation basically creates a cause of action by certain members of the public in the event that someone was sleeping or camping in a public area and the town didn't do anything about it. In order to do something about it, you need to have an ordinance in place, which you do not at this time. So it's almost like a half full, half empty. The legislation requires you to authorize it, but if you're not enforcing, then you then are authorizing. So I'd like to present a draft ordinance for first reading as soon as your next meeting.
I'd support that.
I'm in total agreement with that.
Can you give us just the genesis of this issue and how it came about? What was the discussion of the legislature?
The concern of public sleeping and camping in areas. There was also some findings made that it really is detrimental to the individuals as well as to the public because of the conditions that they find themselves in, and the areas that they're sleeping in does not provide adequate shelter from the elements, adequate facilities.
Do we have an ordinance already on the books about sleeping on the beach?
We do have one on sleeping on the beach,
So
so this
we
would
be
basically.
expanding that?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. John, anything for town attorney?
Please move forward with it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody have anything for? I just have a couple of things. One, could you give us an update on the CRA, how you've been looking into that? You and Becky were going to kind of look into what that would entail, or
It's
been a few
possible
months.
to do. It has been a few months. You're correct. I think the next step would be looking at getting that study in place, and we can follow up with the town manager about the mechanics of getting that going.
And would that funding fall into the planning of the money that we've got from the CDBGR funding? Would that be?
I believe it could, yes.
Okay. Seems like it would be a good pair.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, I know you, through emails, you have been emailed some concern about the street preacher
Yes.
and trying to find legal ways to,
We are still working on that.
Okay.
We don't have a proposal yet for you.
okay.
But
you
we'll
are
try to
working on it.
expedite it.
Okay.
Can I ask a question on that, Mr. Mayor? It's been reported that the town had to pay a settlement with him on a previous
There was a
issue.
lawsuit.
But what I thought was interesting in the account that I read was that we've paid 2,000 of the settlement. We only paid a partial amount of it? Did you see that? by any
No,
chance?
I don't know the specifics of it, but I have heard that there was a prior lawsuit that was settled. So that's part of our
Can you check and
research.
see what the status is of that settlement?
Mm-hmm.
Has it been paid in its entirety or just a portion of it?
Vice
And it-
Mayor, that could be that our deductible was the $2,000 and that the insurance company picked up the rest. I don't
Gotcha.
know, but
No,
that could be what
Could
it
be.
was.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. Yep, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
I have one last question for the attorney. Where are we, and maybe I missed it, where are we on
Bicycles?
electric bicycles on
We're
the
still
sidewalk?
working on that one, too.
Okay.
It's just as things come up, we have to somewhat reprioritize, but we do recognize that it's important to you.
And I'm just saying with season coming up,
Mm-hmm.
the closer we get, the more it's going to become an issue.
Okay.
If I may, Council, we've also ordered some universal signage to be put along Estero Boulevard. Our signs we put up is a lot of words and a lot of reading, so we've kind of trying to be a little more proactive or reactive at this point, I should say, with universal signs and the symbols instead of so many words. And you put the symbol and then C ordinance number or town ordinance number at the bottom of the sign. So we've got those in progress, should be here by hopefully within the next 30 days.
Anything
Yes,
else?
having that reference to the ordinance is critical.
Nice to know that.
Mhm.
That's the first anyone has ever told us that. Anything else for Nancy? All right, thank you. Council member items and report. Counselor Safford, we'll start with you.
I have three. Number one, there's going to be a ribbon cutting on Wednesday at 4 p.m. at 122 Hibiscus, which I think is going to be a landmark event. Homebound built this home in 10 and a half months, and man, Hibiscus Street, if you go down there, that place is rocking. So if people can attend, I think it's going to be a great event. Also on Friday, the 30th of August, the Chamber's putting on their Mini Masters tournament. Dan, it'll be an opportunity for you to win the illustrious green jacket.
You know, I'm just going to say, not, you know.
You look good in
second.
green.
Well, you know, somebody's got to be second, right? So. All right.
And then I've got just a question. I know we were planning on having a pretty long meeting today, and it seems like a lot of things are pushed back to the September 9th meeting. Do we have a time yet figured out? Because I think that's going to be a long meeting. It's going to be a long day.
That was
9
that
that
one's dated
September 9th meeting's at 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
One on the 23rd will be at 6 p.m.
Well-
Following the 5:01 p.m. budget hearings.
hearings, right.
Okay, so 9 a.m.
On the 9th.
On
Well,
the
on the
9th
9th.
is the 9 a.m. regular meeting,
But-
5:01 p.m. first hearings for the budget.
It's gonna be a long
Both
day.
of those meetings, Scott, are on the 9th.
Yes.
The 9 and the 5:01.
Yes.
Yep.
And then the same on the 23rd.
On the 9/23, the budget hearings are at 5:01 p.m. and the regular meeting will be right after.
Right after.
At 6 p.m. or as soon after 6 p.m. as they can be heard.
One of the other things that I met with Amy on Friday, she informed me as well, just so people are clear, that there is no M&P on the 12th of September.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you
But
speak?
we have narrowed, or the special joint session with CellCab for their MAPS assessment will be on the 19th at 9 a.m. That's a joint session between you, Town Council, and CellCab for their MAPS assessment.
What time?
9 a.m.
So there's, when is the MNP meeting going to be?
There is
There
not
is
one.
no
There's not-
September
no
That
MNP.
one in
MNP.
September.
Okay, awesome.
So we're looking at the 3rd, 19th, and 23rd for meetings, correct?
No,
Ninth.
night.
No, the 9th, the 19th. and
23rd,
23rd.
and
9th, I'm
19th.
sorry. Yes, that's what I meant.
The 9th, 19th, and
Yes.
23rd.
Perfect. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Counselor Woodson?
Yeah, I have one thing, and it has to do with the public meetings that Seagate so generously put on for us at the Pink Shell. And I think everyone is entitled to their own opinion. There's no doubt about that. But I also think that there is a respect and a decorum that needs to happen at public meetings. There is usually an agenda, there's a presentation taking place where they are trying to present to you all aspects of a project. And I feel that at the Pink Shell meeting, Matt from Seagate was very rudely interrupted multiple times by some of our residents on the beach. And I just really feel that these meetings should have a respectful flow. There's a process that goes into it. They said right at the beginning of the meeting, they were going to give their presentation, and then it would be open to questions and public comment. They would bring the microphone around, because that's the only way, if we're having it broadcast on Beach Talk or anyplace else, that's the only way you can hear what people are saying. And to be rude and just boisterous and throwing out your opinions and interrupting, I don't think is appropriate. We don't do it in our council meetings, and we certainly should not be doing it in any other public meeting. My opinion, but I just want to go on record and saying I personally was extremely embarrassed. And I think we need to pay attention to that.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all.
Vice Mayor Earhart?
All my items have been covered. Thank you.
All right. Counselor King?
I'm good, thank you.
And I do not have anything either. With that, well, I guess I'll just touch a little bit on our Florida League of Cities trip. Andy and I and Frankie went over for the annual Florida League of Cities conference. I think we made some good contacts. I think we found some things that will really propel us into the future, being able to do some things. And I guess stay tuned. Andy will fill us in as he's able to work through some of the things and some of the people we got to meet with. But it was a worthwhile trip. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Well, with that, I will say the Bengals said it best when it's a manic Monday, and I'll move to adjourn.
Got a motion by Counselor King. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 11:37. I wasn't sure if you were going.
Yeah.